Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about trail cameras and how and when to check those SD cards. If you guys have watched just about any video on this channel, you know that I love trail cameras and I love trail camera videos. I think it's so cool that you can see what's going on in the woods at any given time, even if it is just a small window. These trail cameras really act like a second set of eyes, so you can monitor what's going on in your woods 24/7. And if set up properly, most of the wildlife on your property will have no idea that they're there. However, if you are using trail cameras improperly, or if you don't have a plan to check those SD cards, trail cameras can actually have a negative impact on your property and your hunting goals, especially if your goal is to take down one of those older bucks that's using your property. So can you check your trail cameras whenever you want? And the answer to that is no, you absolutely cannot. Every time you're going onto your property, whether it's to check cameras, go hunting, throw out more seed, you're leaving evidence behind that you were there, whether it's from scent, whether it's from disturbed ground, you're leaving a trace that you were there. And the more times that you intrude into your property, the more pressure that you're putting on your property. And the more pressure that you put on your property, the more nocturnal your deer herd becomes. And a lot of times those older bucks will avoid an area altogether if it becomes overly pressured. So you cannot be going back there to pull camera cards every other day. Even if you can get on and off your property to get those cards without spooking any deer, like we said before, you're still leaving scent behind. And once they realize that you were there, they're going to have a negative response to that, and they could change their patterns altogether. Now, just like with most things, there are a few exceptions. There are a few places that you can grab a card about any day of the week, and those would be areas that deer are used to human intrusion on a regular basis. So if you have a camera that's right off a road, maybe it's right next to your cabin. Here on this property, I have a camera that's right next to my pole barn, so anytime that I need to go grab something from my pole barn, I can quickly grab that card, go check it really quick, and then put it back. The deer do not like it that I'm back by my pole barn. They would prefer it if I stayed by my house, but they are also used to it, so scent in this location doesn't come as a surprise to them. And so their patterns don't really change from me checking a card next to my pole barn. And so if you have a camera that's not placed too far back in your property, and it's in an area that you use frequently, that's an SD card that you could pull pretty frequently without doing too much damage to your property and your hunting efforts. But what about all the other cameras that you have on your property? When can you go in and check those? For me, there are 2 times that I'm comfortable checking an SD card during the hunting season, and that's on the way to or from a stand location. Most, if not all, of our trail cameras are located in front of a stand location, and not only does this give you great intel on what deer are using the area, it also gives you a great opportunity to grab that card when you're hunting that stand without putting any extra pressure on your property. And if I happen to be hunting a stand in the back of my property and I'm passing other cameras on the way, this is when I'm changing those SD cards as well. Again, because I'm already moving past those locations, so I'm not putting any extra pressure on my property. Since you're already going to be there, you can grab that card knowing you're not going to be placing any extra scent in the area. Now, if I am hunting in the back of my property and I'm hunting on the west side, I am not going to go walk to the east side of my property and grab all those cards as well, because I do not want to put any extra pressure on my property. I'm only going to grab the cards along my access route. Grabbing cards or changing batteries on the way to or from a stand is a great way to not put additional pressure on your property. But there's also another time that I'll go in and change SD cards if the situation presents itself, and that's during a storm. If you're in the middle of a pretty good rain shower and you know it's going to last for a while, this is a pretty good time to grab a Ziploc bag, grab a couple SD cards, and head to the woods to change out your cards for a few reasons. The first reason why it's a good time to change those cards is because if it's a pretty good storm, those deer are likely hunkered down. They're going to be in those bedding areas waiting for the storm to go through. And so if you can slip in during the storm, you're not as likely to bump into deer while you're changing the cards. The second reason why this is a great time to get in there is because the deer on your property are probably not going to be able to hear you sneaking around. During the storm, it's going to be pretty windy, the rain's going to be coming down, and the leaves are going to be really wet. And so you're not going to be walking on crunchy leaves, you're going to be walking on really quiet, wet leaves. And so you should be able to get around your property relatively undetected. Now, if you happen to have trail cameras in your bedding areas, this is not a good time to go grab those. But if you have cards on deer trails, food plots, or anywhere else where the deer are probably not going to be during a major storm, this is a great time to grab those. And the final and most important reason as to why checking your trail camera cards during the rain is a great time to do it is because a majority of the scent that you left while checking those cards is going to be washed away by the rain. Now before you go in, you want to make sure you're as scent free as possible, just like you would before you're hunting. But even though you're doing this, you're still leaving a scent signature behind. And so swapping out your SD cards while it's raining will likely wash away any scent you did leave behind. And that's really the most important thing when accessing your property during the hunting season, is you do not want those deer to ever know that you were there. Checking trail camera cards during the season can give you guys some great intel, and they can also help in deciding what areas you should be focusing on and what areas you should be avoiding altogether. But if not done properly, whether it's the setup or swapping out SD cards, trail cameras can do a lot more harm than good. So besides the areas that deer are used to human scent, whether that's by our cabin or by our pole barn, these are really the only two ways that I check trail camera cards during the hunting season. If you guys have any other tips or strategies on how you guys check trail camera cards, or if you have any questions on checking cards or trail cameras in general, please leave those comments and questions in the comment section below. I'll get back to those as soon as I can, and we will see you guys in the next video.